Hello, this is Kelly Kleinman, and you're listening to the DealershipNews.com podcast, where we spotlight the who's happening in the automotive industry. It's foot soldiers, visionaries, salesmen, GMs, owners, service managers, and industry vendors alike. And today we have with us Steve Smythe, the CEO of who I consider the absolute number one vendor in the automotive industry, the undisputed heavyweight king of retail automotive finance, the finest in fintech, and NADA's Booth of the Year winner, Market Scan. Steve, it's great to have you on board.
Wow, that's a great introduction. Great to be on board. Thanks very much.
A pleasure having you. I did some research into it. That's why I feel as though I can give you those lofty, I could delegate you as the greatest.
Well, you can be my spokesman anytime.
So tell us how you got into the automotive industry. Was it something you've had a lifelong interest in, or did you just wake up one day and there you were in the land of Oz?
So I've been in the business for a long time. My family was in the business in San Jose, California, and I actually started in the car business serving coffee at 11 years old in the service drive and posting parts manually before the days of computers to manage parts, and working on lube racks when lube racks were available. Or were a thing in dealerships, so a very long time ago. Mm-hmm. Although out of college, I went to work for Disney and worked for Disney as a manager for 7 years before I got into the business and sort of heard the calling of the car business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we.
And then
go ahead.
I was in the retail end of the business for almost 30 years. I was a dealer principal, Mercedes-Benz dealer for 20 years, and sold as my partner in 2008 and. Semi-retired and then unretired and joined Market Scan in 2009.
Well, give us a little bit of the Market Scan backstory. How did it come to be? And give us a little bit of history. Walk us through.
So Market Scan was founded in 1988. It is it was based on the idea that there's only one scientifically perfect solution for any car deal. There is a best case. Market Scan started in a large leasing company in Atlanta, which had access to many lenders, and of course, being a leasing company, all brands. And our co-founder, Rusty West, and our current president, he was challenged by his dad to create a way of tracking all those lenders and all those lender programs and all the incentives in one database. And so he began doing that. And when they had it created, they realized that they had something that was somewhat saleable. So they sold it to a few dealerships in Atlanta, and then got a call from a marketing agency on the West Coast who had heard about their product and invited them to the West Coast. And in a weekend, they showed it to 7 dealers, and all 7 dealers bought. So they moved to the West Coast and reestablished Market Scan in 1991 out here.
Yeah, that's from Atlanta. One of my favorite bands, the Atlanta Rhythm Section, is from Atlanta, right? I mean, way back.
Is that who we just heard on the intro?
No, you were listening to Chicago. There was a little jazz piece off of their 4th album called Goodbye. Great. I was going to actually play some Allman Brothers. That's actually my favorite, but that's way off the point.
Well, they're both my era, so it's okay.
Totally good stuff. Well, since we're let's talk about elevator pitches. For the GM or president of a big dealer group who doesn't work with you now, and frankly, I pity the fool if they don't, what would a 30-second elevator pitch sound like? We're going to get into the real meaty stuff here in a minute, but what would your elevator pitch sound like?
So I'm not sure I can condense it to 30 seconds, but what we do as a company is we track every lender in the country that has any automotive offering, every lease, every retail finance contract, every balloon payment, and all of their programs. We're the only company that does that. We have a great deal, many times the data of any of our competitors on the lender side. And we do the same thing with OEMs, all their incentives and rebates, all their programs, all their rules, every policy, parameter, factor, anything that can impact the automotive transaction, we track. And then we also track all the taxation, and not just the tax rates, but all the tax application methodologies for every part of the country. And then we track all the dealerships' preferences. Every dealership has its own DMS box, and each one of those is set up differently with their particular fees and structures and markups. So we track all that, and it's the only way, knowing all of that, is the only way to get to a truly accurate car payment and the best or most competitive payment for that consumer, or the most profitable deal for the dealership at a given payment.
Yeah. Well, listen, that was the elevator pitch. It went a little longer than 30, but it was solid, and it gives us a pretty good idea of exactly what goes on there. We're going to get into that in 1 minute, but I wanted to stay a little bit fluffy here for a moment. You guys had a great booth. You won Booth of the Show. You had I believe it was an F1 Lambo race car at your booth, a nice little multi-level setup. And how do you feel about that?
Well, it was terrific. It's the first time we've exhibited at NADA in 5 years, and we believe that if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. And we have a product suite these days that appeals to obviously every car dealer, but also anyone that sells any kind of F&I or desking product to a car dealership, or any company that wants to quote accurate payments online to a consumer.
Well, let's go.
We wanted to make sure we covered all those bases, and we had, if you recall, 3 different areas of that booth, and each devoted to a particular vertical.
Well, let's go ahead and break down Market Scan's full suite of products. Give us enough intel to leave us wanting some more. But what do you have going on there? Why should a dealer be excited? We could give them a lot of reasons why, but let's march through this.
So our dealer-facing products, and there are 4 of them. Start with our core product, if you will, which is called M-Desking. It's the industry's most competent desking solution, and that houses the database I described a moment ago. That houses all of that, and all the opportunities makes them visible to a dealership. So any sales manager working with, or any finance manager working with any consumer in any region of the country, on any car, any day, will see the best possible scenarios for both profit and for the most competitive payment for that consumer. So that's our desking solution. It is powered by an API, which I'll get into in a little bit, our own API that powers other verticals. But it's amazingly fast and amazingly competent. And then we launched 3 new products, dealer-facing products, at NADA. And at the top of those 3 is a product we call Improve. Improve is a joint product with a company called Stone Eagle, which is an F&I products management company. And what it enables us to do is to give a dealership a report of every transaction and how well they did in every transaction. So it's a post-mortem. It can be the following day or the following week or the following month. But you can look back and see every transaction the dealership did and how well you did and where you left money on the table as a dealership. You know, whether or not your management team used the right lender program within that particular lender, got the right rebate stack, got the right structure, was it the right term, if they did a 39-month agreement, was there a better solution for the consumer on 36 months? It just looks at all of that and then tells the dealer how well he did. And that particular product, based on our beta testing, what we've seen is most dealers do a pretty good job. 80% of all the transactions they do are solid. The problem is the other 20%, and they never know which those deals are until after the fact, and without a product like this, they would not know. But it shows that there is massive amount of money left on the table on that 20%. It can be $300 to $500 per car retailed over the entire sales volume, or $2,000 to $3,000 per car retailed for that 20%.
Well, let me ask. Go ahead. Were you going to expound on that at all? Or you?
No, just that it's a report that again gives a dealership a real window in how well they're performing. It will show them where the technology they're currently using is not being used properly. It may also show them where there are behavioral issues in the dealership, where human beings are directing business to a particular spot when maybe it isn't the best for the dealership.
So this might be a tricky question, but see if you could sort of think through it a little bit here. How does we'll get into the new partnerships that you launched a couple weeks ago. I definitely want to hear about that with Moto Insight and Stone Eagle. But how does your software add clarity and simplicity to a transaction and maybe eliminate any cognitive dissonance a car buyer might feel while sitting at the deal desk?
Well, that's a big question. So what our products do, and all of them, is they look at every opportunity for that consumer or the dealership to offer to that consumer that's available in the marketplace. We're the only company that tracks all that data. So if a particular lender has, anywhere from average to great programs, a particular software company may not service all of those. We service them all. So we can show for a consumer exactly everything that's available. In fact, one of the products we launched at NADA is we call M-Drive, or basically it's what can I drive. So for a consumer can go into a dealership or go on a website, and they can say, I have a 700 credit score. I live in zip code 91361. I drive 12,000 miles a year. I've got $1,500 cash to put down. I can afford $375 to $400 a month in payments. What can I drive? And instantly get a list of every car in that dealership's inventory or our dealer group's inventory across multiple dealerships that fit that particular buyer scenario, and rank those from the best bang for the buck, if you will, the highest MSRP in that payment range.
You know what? I would love to have that option. I would love to be able to go into a dealer, and that's why I asked that question, and ask the dealer, what can I afford? Here's basically, this is what I have going on. These are my resources. Put me into something. And to be able to have that, I've never heard of that before. And that's why when I saw it, I went on the website, did a little bit of research. I was really impressed with it. So let's talk about those new partnerships that you launched a couple weeks ago, Moto Insight and Stone Eagle. How do you see those two new relationships taking you into higher orbit?
So they're two very, very different products, if you will. The Stone Eagle product is what I described earlier, the Improve, showing a dealership the opportunities that they're currently missing. We think that there's not a dealership in the country that shouldn't want that. I was a dealer principal for 20 years, and I'll tell you the first thing I did every day is I looked at the deal jackets from the prior day and see how we did. Mm-hmm. The problem is, if I don't have the software that's going to let me know, give me the context for that, I'm not going to know if our team did a good job or not. This product enables them, working with Stone Eagle and their F&I analysis, it gives the dealership a clear picture of how the dealership did on each transaction. And I just can't imagine a more important report for a dealer.
Right. I agree.
So that's the Stone Eagle product. We think that has great legs and will generate or enable us to introduce other reporting or diagnostics for dealerships downstream. The Moto Insight product is a product using our API, our MScan API, which faces technology partners, if you will, and it enables them to have access to the same database and calculation engine that we have for our M-Desking product in their product. So we power several CRM companies. We power a number of online consumer-facing payment calculation companies. Moto Insight would be one of them. And a lot of digital retail behind the scenes is powered by us.
Mm-hmm. I'm just curious as to how many dealerships are now using your services. And I know that you don't only just deal with car dealers, but virtually anything automotive or anything that has a motor, any mobility-oriented vertical, correct?
Yeah, we're not yet in power sports, but that's certainly on our radar at some point. Mm-hmm. But just staying with automobiles, we're on about 6,000 rooftops with our direct products and also with our technology partners.
Yeah, and growing. Do you have any case studies of dealers who are using your suite of products that you could share with us, where they were as confused as they must have been before they started using your product line, and then where they are now?
Well, what we typically find is that when dealers switch from any desking solution other than ours to ours, they free up or see an additional $200 to $300 per car retail. That's before having access to this Improve product, which we'll show you more. Mm-hmm. But there's just a tremendous benefit from having more data.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it, and that's basically kind of what our philosophy is over here. We try to create as much or get as much data as we possibly can, interpret the data, and then create usable intelligence out of it. We like to consider ourselves an intellectual resource for dealerships, and they can never have enough of that. I think you supply that in spades. And I certainly want to hear more about the company as we go through the year. But before we wrap it up, I kind of wanted to know where you feel the company is going to be in 5 years and what direction you're going in, and what are some of the good things that we could expect out of you in that period of time.
So we're sort of the textbook overnight 30-year success,
Yeah.
Or 30-year overnight success rather. Now we've been doing this for a long time, and it's because of our lineage. Working with dealerships that we've been able to understand every nuance of every transaction, every part of the country. And we're the only company that does that or has that background. So with that, and with the advent of all the fintech and digital retail, they're all hungry, all those new companies are hungry for the best solution for both dealerships and consumers. And we're thankfully in the unique position to have that. Our competitors don't have this and won't be able to develop this in any time soon. So we believe that the upside for MarketScan is rather huge.
Well, I'd like to get into more of what you're doing over there because obviously we only had a short time here to be able to create an image for those out there who aren't familiar with the company. There's a lot more to it, and the benefits to a dealership are multifold in a big way. But I want to thank you for coming on with us right now, Steve. That was Steve Smythe, the CEO of MarketScan. They're out of Camarillo, right down the road from us over here in Calabasas. This is Kelly. That was the dealershipnews.com podcast for a Friday afternoon. Have a great weekend and join us next week for a lot more of this good stuff. Bye-bye, everybody.